Hi, friends. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to this week's episode of Hormones, Metabolism, and You. This week, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk to you about some viral trends I'm seeing. So, if you're someone who's drinking adrenal cocktails or maybe fiber maxing, millions of women are doing this. They're following these viral trends that they see on Instagram because influencers are telling them to do it. But this could actually be making your symptoms worse. It could be harming your health. It could be harming your hormones. It could be making your gut health worse. And so I am Dr. Cassie Smith. I'm a board certified endocrinologist. And I'm going to talk to you today about these trends that I'm seeing in social media and some of the misinformation that people are getting. I'm exposing the truth behind some viral trends that need to stop. So I'm so glad you decided to join me today. I want to start by talking about this cortisol cocktail trend that we've all seen. So if you're somebody who's drinking cortisol cocktails, let's break this down, okay? So adrenal glands are very important. I love supporting your adrenal gland. Your adrenal gland is very important for hormone metabolism, for weight, for stress, all sorts of things. So what I've seen on Instagram, people are toting these cortisol cocktail trends, right? And so what they say is like, this is a colorful, non-alcoholic drink. It usually has like coconut water, citrus juice, maybe certain types of salts. It just kind of depends. And so people are saying, this lowers your stress hormones. So if you drink these, they definitely lower your stress hormones. They'll boost your energy. They balance your adrenal function. I've seen that they treat adrenal fatigue. And so all these things are kind of trending with these adrenal cocktails. So what are they? Is it true? So basically it's some sort of electrolyte with some salt, because we do know that your blood pressure is very dependent on, hydration and salt. And so there is no scientific evidence that this drink actually has a purpose. So like a lot of these are just, again, random drinks that you put electrolytes into and they're supposed to make you feel better, right? So what I'm going to tell you is that nutrients like potassium and vitamin C, magnesium, they're all very important for your adrenal function. That's usually what's in these, like some sort of mix of electrolytes that they're selling you, but they typically are obtained just fine through a natural balance of diet and hydration, right? The caveat to this is people with POTS. I see a lot of people with postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. You need a lot more salt and sodium, so you may need a lot more of a replacement, but still I don't know that the adrenal cocktail is something that you must have, right? There's no evidence that consuming extra amounts beyond what your body needs provides additional benefits. So most people are not going to need these excessive amounts of potassium, vitamin C, magnesium for their adrenal function. There's no evidence that these drinks meaningfully lower your cortisol level. So that's really important because cortisol is a direct reflection of a hormone that's made in your adrenal gland, and it is really significant if it's high. And a lot of times that's due to stress, whether it be your sleep schedule not being normal, you have internal stress from past trauma, all the things you need to do, you're dieting too much, you're exercising too much, you're holding yourself accountable for too many things. So your to-do list is always full and you're not giving yourself credit for what you get done. So all those things can increase your stress and your cortisol. And this is something that you significantly need to work on because it does downstream affect your stomach. And I see a lot of gut issues related to this. But these drinks do not lower your cortisol levels, okay? And adrenal fatigue, just so you know, is not recognized as a medical condition or illness, although I truly believe that adrenal fatigue is something that exists, okay? I tell people a lot of times you have adrenal fatigue. Your adrenal glands are stressed out. They are, maxed out. And so there's not like an ICD-10 code for this, but basically it's, you don't necessarily have adrenal insufficiency. You're making some cortisol. Your body's just not making enough. And so just keep in mind if somebody's like trying to sell you this on adrenal fatigue and different things like that. No, it's not a true medical diagnosis, but it is something that I believe in and that we see. So just be careful with that. And then also the symptoms that are attributed to adrenal fatigue sometimes can be better explained by other things. So sometimes people are just blaming your adrenal glands. I feel like adrenals are hot right now. Like, oh, it's your adrenal. Like it used to be your thyroid and your cortisol. But things like poor sleep, Mental health conditions like stress, anxiety, that are real conditions, can actually be a direct reflection of gut issues. Your, anemias, low iron levels, which can cause your heart to beat really fast, can be blamed on adrenal conditions. Hypothyroidism, a lot of people have hypothyroidism and they don't realize it, and they get, it gets blamed on your adrenals. Same things with PCOS. There's a whole subset of PCOS patients that have adrenal PCOS. And so you may have hormonal issues that somebody's blaming on your adrenal. So just keep in mind that sometimes your symptoms that are attributed to your adrenal gland can be due to other things as well. So I just don't want people relying on this remedy instead of actually seeking proper medical advice. So again, brief recap of cortisol cocktail, this trend. It can be harmful if you're missing something else that's going on. Most of the time you're going to get the micronutrients that you need in a typical diet. So I would just be cautious of people saying like, you must have this. It will cure your adrenals. It will cure your, lower your cortisol level, because the truth is that a drink is not going to lower your cortisol level. There are multiple things you can do from a lifestyle perspective, a gut perspective, and things like that. There are supplements that help. I love supplements that help support your adrenal gland, that have good herbs in them to help with adrenal function. At Modern Endocrine, we have one called Adrenal Assist. But if somebody is telling you on social media that this drink is going to cure your cortisol issue, I would be very skeptical of that, particular person in general. Okay. So this trend is promoting non-existent conditions sometimes, these adrenal fatigue. Again, this is not something that's diagnosed. I do think it is something in medicine that we do see and that we help support your adrenal glands. But they are making a lot of assumptions and just statements about cortisol, like, oh, this drink will lower your cortisol. And while the ingredients aren't harmful, there's no scientific basis that the claimed benefits are actually happening, that your cortisol is actually coming down. The real concern is that people that are experiencing like anxiety, fatigue, my concern is like, if you have anxiety, you have fatigue, you're stressed out, you may be delaying proper medical evaluation because you're relying on this remedy, right? Instead of addressing the underlying cause, which could be your thyroid, it could be diabetes, it could be mental health issues, it could just be stress, it could be gut issues. So just keep that in mind when you're seeing these viral things about adrenal cocktails. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is fiber maxing, right? So tons of people are talking about maxing out the amount of fiber on Instagram. I even do fiber videos, but it's in a context, okay? So not everyone fits in the same box. And people who are pushing like 50 grams of fiber, just all the fiber you can get, fiber does help you feel full. That is true. Fiber feeds good bacteria in your gut. That is also true. If you are not eating any fiber and then you go to eating a ton of fiber, you are going to feel miserable, okay? You have to get your body used to this fiber. And so I see these reels where it's like, wanting you to build your meals and build your snacks around all these fiber-rich foods, and they're telling you to eat all these fruits and vegetables and beans and lentils and seeds and nuts and whole grains and get 50 grams of fiber and, add functional fiber supplements like psyllium husk. And all those things are great if we're doing it in a organized fashion, right? But anything that's exceeding about 35 grams of fiber a day, not super beneficial and probably could hurt you long term. So do I think everyone should have 30 to 35 grams of fiber a day? Yes. If you can tolerate 40, great. But do you need to eat 70 and 80 grams of fiber? You don't. And like I said, if you're eating a very little amount, what happens is you're going to start feeding some bacteria that could cause some symptoms and make you not feel great. So people are saying, like all the influencers that I'm seeing on social media, this improves your gut health, which it can, because again, we're feeding the right bacteria. It boosts your metabolism. It can make you feel full longer. So I'll give you that partially. It aids in weight loss. I guess if you feel full longer, it could help with weight loss. Improves digestion. If your digestion system is working okay and you already can tolerate fiber, then adding some more definitely could improve your digestion. It balances hormones. I don't know that I can get behind that in any way other than if it is trying to help your gut, right? So anytime we fix our gut, it can balance our hormones, but fiber in particular on its own, probably not going to move the needle in our gut all the way. So it's helpful, but it's not like the end all be all. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is like some people are on social media just like, you must do this. This is the only way you're going to fix things. I think that's a little dangerous. And then that it regulates your blood sugars. So what I will tell you from scientific research is that fiber does regulate your blood sugar. It slows down digestion and it improves glucose spikes. So when you have fiber, it kind of cross-links in your stomach when you eat it. I tell my patients to try to eat fiber first so that it's kind of laid down. It's kind of like a blanket in your stomach. Then when you eat your protein, but most notably your carbs, which spike your blood sugar doesn't leave and go into your bloodstream as quickly because of the cross-linked fiber in your stomach. So it will lower your blood sugar. That's 100% true. It protects your heart from, they say it's like healthy heart food because it helps bind up cholesterol. It does boost digestion and support healthy gut microbiome. Again, it does feed our gut, but we just have to be careful of feeding our gut slowly so we're not like overfeeding and getting really bad symptoms if we were having no fiber. And it does promote satiety, so it helps with weight management. All these things are true. What I'm telling you is though, you have to increase fiber gradually to avoid bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. So if you are somebody who's seen all these viral TikTok trends and you're like, oh, I'm pushing my fiber and I'm bloated all the time, well, then we need to know, first of all, how much fiber are you eating? How much were you eating? Did we go too quickly? The other really common thing with fiber or with bloating is maybe we're not chewing our food and swallowing slowly too. So something to keep in mind. Do not substitute this, like if you have IBS, if you have SIBO, if you have diverticulitis, again, if you're on a really, really low fiber diet, you don't want to just throw all this fiber into your diet. It can actually make your symptoms worse. So it's not suitable for people with IBS, SIBO, diverticulitis, and people who are eating like basically no fiber. We have to work on that at a slower pace. Too much, too fast, again, causes diarrhea, constipation, vice versa, nausea, and then 40 to 50 grams daily without gradual increase causes GI symptoms. So my reaction to this generally is just that fiber is good. There are good things about it, but if you're like one of these people that have seen this rare social media health trend that's like, oh my gosh, we must have, excessive amounts of fiber, just be careful because adequate fiber intake does support your metabolic health. It helps your blood sugar. It helps you with weight. It can indirectly benefit your hormone balance through fixing your gut, but we just have to make sure that we do it in steps and that we're not giving it to people who it could harm. So it just kind of oversimplifies this. I feel like this trend on social where it's like, just eat all the fiber. It's oversimplifying a complex metabolic process, and it can lead to focusing solely on fiber and ignoring other important micronutrients for metabolic health, like your protein, like your vegetables, polyphenols, things like that. So this maxing mentality could lead to excessive intake, causing GI symptoms. And so again, key is gradual, balanced implementation with fiber. I love fiber. We have a fiber supplement. I really like it. It's called Gut Fuel. But again, don't go from 10 grams of fiber to 40. You will be bloated. Your stomach will hurt. And if you have SIBO, which a lot of my patients do, you're going to feel way worse. And then you're going to get flustered because you're like, I'm eating all this fiber. I'm doing what I'm told, and I feel worse. So that's another one that I think is really important that you just kind of bear in mind and take with a grain of salt, or just make sure that you're doing correctly. Another really viral thing I've seen recently on social media, which could potentially harm people, is this metabolism-boosting morning routine. Okay. And I may put some of these links in the show notes so you can see some of these things, but some people are like, oh, there's this 4-step morning routine, this get up and glow, get up and go. You must do this, right? And the most common ones I've seen are hydrate immediately, drink warm water with lemon, sometimes throw some salt in there, and then move your body, right? 10 to 15 minutes of light exercise, yoga, stretching, dancing, whatever. Black coffee with a twist. So people are telling you put these supplements in there, Java burn, different things, different sorts of powder, MTC oil to light up your metabolism, and then delay breakfast. So intermittent fast until mid-morning. These are kind of when I look at all of them, these are the most common things that people are like, okay, do this, right? So hydrate, move your body, drink coffee. You can put things in it to help boost your metabolism, and then skip breakfast. So they say that if you do this, most of the people that I've seen, that it boosts your metabolism for the entire day. You burn excess fat, you increase mental clarity, you improve energy, support weight loss, yada, 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 right? Okay, so here's my caveat. This is really going to depend on your age, your current health situation, your adrenal function, your thyroid function, right? So a lot of things go into this. So the concerning aspect of this is that there's like heavy promotion on certain things when they don't even know what's going on with you, because everyone is different, right? So morning hydration does help kickstart cellular function and metabolism. Ideally, warm water. You can have cold water, but warm water is a little more beneficial. The thought with lemon in water is to help with alkalizing environment. So some women are very alkaline, especially if you're having a lot of issues with your skin and acne. So like adding some different like acidic things, could potentially help with the lemon. Also just getting like your digestive system going is the thought with the lemon. So a lot of people are like, I don't like lemon. Okay, drink water. That's fine. Hydration, perfect. Light morning exercise can elevate metabolism, like it can increase your metabolic rate for hours and improve circulation. So I do like that part of this routine too. I'm a huge avid proponent of moving your body in the morning. Black coffee, it can increase your metabolism, right? It's caffeine, so that is true. And intermittent fasting for 12 to 16 hours has been shown beneficial for metabolic health and insulin sensitivity in certain people. So if you have adrenal dysfunction and you're really stressed, you're in the luteal phase of your cycle, different things are going on, then intermittent fasting is not always best for you. So just know that because, an influencer is saying you should intermittent fast for 16 hours every day, you should probably talk with your doctor, assuming you have a good functional medicine doctor that understands these things, because fasting is not always great for everyone. So that's where I'm like, ugh. And sometimes if you want to fast, that's perfect. I tell a lot of my patients, let's eat in the morning so our body's not super stressed and our cortisol awakening response isn't like way higher than it already is. And let's stop eating at like 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Like I would rather you not eat later in the day, give your body time to digest itself, give your digestive fire time to calm down before we go to bed, and then light that fire back up in the morning. So you just have to be careful with these like routines that people are saying like, oh, everyone needs to follow this, because it might not be what's best for your body. I also don't love the heavy promotion of like different things sometimes to put in your coffee. Like I've seen one with Java Burn. It's an unregulated product. I'm not really sure what's in it, but like if they're like, oh, you must put this in your coffee, sometimes it's like MTC oil, different things like that. And there are differing opinions on MTC oil. Some people swear it's great. It's good for ketosis. It's good for your brain. It does break down into other things though. So there's another school of thought where MTC is maybe not the best. So just keep that in mind. There is oversimplified claims in a lot of these things about metabolism boosting. So what I don't want is somebody to hear this and just think, oh, I can do this, but then for the rest of the day, I can eat whatever I want. I don't really have to pay attention. Yeah, I'll have part of that cookie because I did this thing this morning to boost my metabolism, right? So I think that's just, it's a little oversimplified. And then the pink salt, like I hear a lot of people say, like, put pink salt in your water in the morning. And from an endocrinology perspective, like there's not a lot of data for that either. Could you use some salt, if you're dehydrated or if you have POTS? Sure. But I'm just saying like you don't have to. So the routine has several evidence-based elements, the one we just talked through, that can support metabolic health: hydration, movement, strategic meal planning. The routine I gave you in particular doesn't mean everyone's meal planning needs to be like that. Again, we talked about maybe having breakfast and cut it off at 4, especially if you're somebody who wakes up in that sympathetic fight or flight state. Your body is already stressed. Not giving it food for several hours is not making that any better. There are claims I feel like that are understated to kind of help sell this, right? So just be careful with that. Again, I told you, like, if they're hammering a specific supplement that you should take, like the Java Burn one that I saw, just know that sometimes these things aren't regulated. So make sure you do your due diligence on that. The metabolic boost from these activities is moderate and temporary. And so keep that in mind too, because this doesn't mean you get to eat and do whatever you want all day long, because it's not like this dramatic fat burning transformation that they imply. And so I don't want people overeating or just leaning on that too much and not doing what they need to do and then expecting something that they don't get. So I don't want you to think, oh, if I do this, I don't have to do my walking, do my yoga, do my weightlifting, and I can't have that cookie, because then you're going to be in trouble. And the intermittent fasting, like I told you, it's not for everyone. So depends on what's going on with you, depends on how stressed out your adrenals are. So just make sure that you're working with somebody before you just take this viral trend about a morning boosting fat routine and do it. So that's all I would say about that trend. The other trend, the next trend, so hormone balancing food for women. So, I've seen some things like, these are the 6 hormone balancing foods every woman should eat. And if you are hearing this trend and you are eating these 6 hormones, chances are it's not working. Because if there were 6 foods that every woman could eat to stay in shape, then nobody would be overweight. And so let's just kind of break this down and see, and like maybe you're even harming yourself, just like with the fiber one that we talked about. Sometimes you can overdo things. And so let's talk about this, like you must eat these foods for, better period, better skin, better mood. Again, if there were 6 foods that we could all eat, women, to have the best skin, the best mood, no pain with our periods, we would have figured this out hundreds of years ago, and we would all be eating these foods. But the claims that I see people make are like, hey, these foods provide natural, support for hormonal harmony and period relief and mood stability and gut and skin health. And they promise you better skin and stable mood and pain-free periods. And they say that like these foods are your natural support system. Now, while certain foods do support overall hormonal health, I completely agree with that by providing essential nutrients. The claims made here are very simplistic, and sometimes they're exaggerated. So there's not a single food or a group of foods that can guarantee you that you will have pain-free periods. If there were, again, we would all know and we would all do it, right? And there are dramatic hormonal changes between myself, the next person who has a menstrual cycle. Like we all have different cycles, right? Hormonal balance is very complex. It's influenced by multiple things, including your genetics, your stress, which changes every month, your sleep, which can change every month, your overall diet plan. Your gut is huge, and I think that is a lot of times the missing link in a lot of people with really significant hormonal issues. And you can see that a lot of times with advanced testing. So at Modern Endocrine, we do Dutch testing, and there's an organic acid on that test that will tell us if the problem is your gut, at which point we do gut testing and we fix it. Like we figure it out. But you have to you have to keep all these things in mind and then also look for underlying medical causes too and conditions, right? If somebody has fibroids, if somebody has PCOS, like we need to make sure we're not missing things too. So I don't want somebody to watch this and think, oh, well, my period is really heavy, I'll just eat these 6 foods and like not seek treatment again, right? So you just have to kind of take these things, for what they are. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast. So the concept of hormone balancing food is a huge marketing term right now. There's, a lot of stuff floating around about this. A balanced diet, rich in nutrients, supports your endocrine function. 100% I agree with that. These posts often oversell the importance of a specific food, and then they can delay you actually getting proper treatment for something like PCOS, like we talked about, endometriosis, thyroid disorder, etc. So your focus should be on your overall dietary pattern rather than a magical individual food. So that's just kind of my caveat with these viral posts. Like these are the 6 things you must eat. Now, if somebody wants to get on there and say, hey, these are 6 things that could help or that I recommend you eat, that's different. So I'm not saying that like nobody should post this. I'm just saying be careful about what you see and hear. If they're like, these are the only 6 foods you should eat every month, just like this is the only morning routine you should do, I would be very leery of that. That's all I'm saying. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is pink salt. So if you are somebody who is just like, oh, I must have pink salt, for weight loss, pink salt for energy, pink salt for hydration. I've seen a lot of stuff with pink salt recently. And to be honest with you, my question is like, does this pink salt have iodine? That's really important too, y'all. So if you don't have enough iodine in your body, it affects your thyroid function and your immune function. So we check iodine levels at Modern Endocrine. Fun fact, if you don't have enough iodine, you literally cannot make thyroid hormone from your thyroid, even if your brain tells you to, because iodine is the backbone of T4 and T3, which are your thyroid hormones. iodine also, there's a big role in it, we think, with cancer. There's actually some studies right now with iodine and breast cancer. So there are toxic halides that get into our body, and this is kind of off topic, but bromide, chloride, and bromide, chloride, iodine, fluoride. Fluoride's the other one. This is why, like, I hate fluoride, and so do a lot of dentists. So these toxic halides, so chloride, bromide, fluoride, they can get into your body, set on cells, and then start cells, like mutating cells. And then when that happens, you can develop cancer. So the cool thing about iodine is it can kind of help like push these off of cell receptors so that you don't make cancer. And so that's where this like research right now is coming in with iodine and breast cancer. But my point with all of that, the pink salt. So iodine, a lot of times we get from salt. You can get it from fresh seafood, but if you live in Oklahoma like I do, this time of the year, we're not really getting a whole lot of fresh seafood. So a lot of people have to supplement iodine unless they get it from salt. So and a lot of these like salts that are on TikTok right now that we're supposed to be, everyone loves, there's no iodine in it. So iodine is actually important. But this pink salt tip for weight loss that I've seen going around is like, okay, in the morning, you take pink Himalayan sea salt, you put water, you put lemon, you put honey, and you drink it. And allegedly it's going to like boost your metabolism. It's going to reduce bloating. It's going to accelerate fat loss. What else? Oh, and it gives you like minerals, I think was the other thing that it was saying like, okay, you get all these minerals. So here's my problem with that. So this is an example again of social media overselling a simple ingredient, right? Pink salt. Himalayan pink salt contains trace minerals. Fact. The amount are negligible and they won't be meaningful for metabolism or weight loss. I mean, you can't eat enough of it. So that's one of my problems. The lemon and honey add some vitamin C and natural sugar. That's a fact. But this combination has no proven weight loss benefit. And I would even argue that the honey could negate weight loss because honey has a lot of calories, it's got a lot of sugar, and you don't want people thinking, oh, I can just put honey in everything because it's good for you, right? That's going to negate your weight loss because if you're having 3 and 4 tablespoons of honey a day, that's a lot of calories that a lot of people are not accounting for, right? And then plus they're thinking, oh, well, this boosted my metabolism in the morning, so I can walk less, I can eat more. Not true. So this perceived benefit is likely due to the increased hydration or placebo effect that, people may get from having this drink in the morning. But in people with hypertension, you have to be a little bit careful as well. Adding salt and sugar to water can increase your blood pressure. So sugar increases blood pressure, as can excessive amounts of salt, allegedly. I will tell you that I feel like sugar increases your blood pressure far more than salt. And so again, this is just a trend that exemplifies how social media takes very basic ingredients. They can create these unrealistic expectations. They create unrealistic expectations around hydration and weight loss. And then if you're following this viral trend, you're like, oh, well, I had my salty water this morning with lemon and honey. I don't have to drink as much water for the rest of the day. Oh, I don't need to go on that extra walk or, do what I was going to do from an exercise perspective because I have a boosted metabolism. And it's just unrealistic expectations, in my opinion. So if you want to drink water with salt and honey and lemon every morning, by all means, do it. Account for it whenever you are tracking your calories. And by no means let that be an excuse to not do the exercise you're supposed to do or eat how you're supposed to. So that would be my take on that. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about that I've seen recently. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen this cougar puberty thing going around on Instagram and social media, but basically people are like trying to rebrand perimenopause and call it cougar puberty, which is kind of interesting. And so I just want to talk about that really fast. It makes perimenopause sound more empowering, I guess, which I'm all about because perimenopause is no joke. Neither is menopause. It's supposed to help women talk more openly about it, which I also love because I think that women have been silenced about menopause and perimenopause for far too long. I want you to be open about it. I want it to be empowering. I want to be able to educate people about this. It reframes a negative into a positive. Love all of that, okay? While, talking about this though, and talking about perimenopause is very important. This rebranding kind of has some mixed implications, in my opinion. So it does encourage us to talk about this more openly, but I feel like cougar puberty kind of has this like negative just vibe to it, connotation, and just, I don't know. It's interesting. And so I feel like, women are dealing with a lot of these hormonal fluctuations, mood changes, sleep disturbances, metabolic changes, all sorts of stuff. So the focus should be on educating us about these symptoms and treatment options and making sure you know what questions to ask your doctors and what to expect. And when you have symptoms, understand why you're having them. It's not in your head, you're not crazy, and help provide you with good evaluations and evidence-based treatments, not just catchy phrases. So while cougar puberty seems interesting, I hope that you're also following the viral trends where we really are trying to educate people and let you know what's expected from perimenopause. And I think there's a lot of people out there that do a good job with that. We try to do it on our page, but definitely watch for those things, and then make sure that when you are looking at this data or listening to these trends or these viral TikToks, viral Instagram posts, that it's coming from somebody who you trust, because again, you don't want somebody oversimplifying some of these symptoms of menopause or saying like, oh, when you can't sleep, just drink this tea. There's so many reasons you can't sleep during menopause. And so you would want to make sure you're not delaying care because you're drinking a tea. So just make sure that if you are going through perimenopause or menopause and you're having symptoms that are debilitating to you, to seek some help with the provider. There's so many of us now that understand this. Get some lab work done and figure out how to best get you through this time of your life, because it's not meant to be miserable. At least I feel like it shouldn't be. It's a chapter of our life that we get through, but it can be very empowering if done correctly. So just find the right provider to help you get through that, because there are, treatments to all sorts of symptoms, and education is key. The last viral TikTok that I want to talk to you guys about today is PCOS weight loss content. So PCOS is very near and dear to my heart. I struggled with it for a long time, still do. I have a whole chapter in my book dedicated to PCOS. I see people who struggle with this every single day. There's lots of people on TikTok now talking about PCOS, multiple accounts where they're trying to tell you that PCOS causes this uncontrollable rapid weight gain that's not your fault. Now, what are the facts about that? Does PCOS cause weight gain? For sure. It increases your risk to gain weight. Is it uncontrollable? Usually not. Like, it is controllable. There are ways to manage and treat PCOS. There's tons of accounts out there that teach you how to do that and show you how people lose weight. And so while weight gain is not your fault, I also don't want you to think that like, oh, I have PCOS, there's no hope for me, I'm not even going to try, right? So PCOS does make weight loss tricky because it's a metabolic issue. Weight gain with PCOS, it does happen, but it is controllable, and it can be your fault if you're not educating yourself and doing the things that you need to do to make it better. So just like with anyone who's gaining weight, like if we're not eating like we're supposed to, sleeping like we're supposed to, moving like we're supposed to, then we're going to gain weight. So I don't think that's necessarily fair either. There are special supplements and protocols for PCOS weight loss that have been shown to be utilized and to work better because of the metabolic issue with PCOS. And so if people are claiming things like that, like inositol, berberine, things with alpha lipoic acid, those things will help with weight loss when you have PCOS. Microdose GLP-1s are phenomenal and life-changing in people with PCOS. But again, microdosed under the right condition with a provider that understands what's going on with you. I wouldn't recommend buying them online from random places where you don't even know what you're getting, but they can be very beneficial. Traditional weight loss methods don't work with PCOS. I hear a lot of that too, and that's not necessarily true either. So just make sure that with PCOS, the content that you're getting, take it in context with where you're getting it. So PCOS does create metabolic challenges. As an endocrinologist, I'm going to tell you 100% it does. I faced them personally and with my patients. That makes weight management more difficult with PCOS. And the message around uncontrollable weight gain, I think it's problematic. And I think it needs to stop, because I don't want people just like leaning on that, right? Using that as a crutch. PCOS is associated with insulin resistance. That is true. It can make weight loss more challenging. That is also true, but it is not impossible. So I don't want people to hear it and give up on it either. So I just want people to be very particular when they're talking about PCOS and in letting people know, like, is this challenging? Yes. Will it be a little bit harder? Probably. Is it possible? 100%. People do it all the time, right? And it's not your fault. The not your fault messaging, while I think it's very well intended to reduce shame, like what it causes a lot of people to do is it promotes this learned helplessness. And I don't necessarily love that either, because I don't want you to feel helpless, and I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm never going to be able to lose weight, so I just give up because I have PCOS. So I think you just have to be careful about that too. And I wish some of those trends would take that in mind, because I do think that most PCOS weight loss accounts out there are trying to help people. We just have to be careful how we say it, so that people don't get this learned helplessness. Evidence-based PCOS management includes lifestyle modifications like diet and exercise, although sometimes these are different. Low impact exercises a lot of times are better than high impact. Walking is wonderful. Lifting weights, and if you can't lift really heavy, lighter weights, more repetitions. Yoga, Pilates, wonderful for PCOS. Medications like metformin are sometimes appropriate with PCOS and addressing underlying insulin issues. Things like inositol, alpha lipoic acid, like I said, microdose GLP-1s are phenomenal. But you do need to know all the issues you have with PCOS. Do you have gut issues? Do you have thyroid issues? Because there is a type of, thyroid, subclinical hypothyroidism that goes with PCOS, and also adrenal issues. So there's definitely an adrenal PCOS connection as well that I talk about in my book. So you just need to know all of these things. And then the focus is on special, supplements and PCOS specific protocols. A lot of these on the internet lack scientific evidence, but if you're working with a provider that has all of your labs in front of them and they know, are you estrogen dominant? What do your hormones look like? Is your testosterone high? What does your insulin look like? What is your gut like? Then they can come up with a protocol for you that's going to work. It's going to work. You're going to lose weight. You're going to be successful. They just have to put all the pieces together, right? And so women with PCOS do benefit from working with healthcare providers who understand the condition rather than following social media advice that may oversimplify and misrepresent the complexity of PCOS. That's just my thing with that. Like, if you do have PCOS, please find a provider to help you. Don't just get all this information from Instagram and think, oh, I'm going to fix this on my own. Because again, you are an N of one, and there's a lot of different things that move with PCOS. And so you really need to understand what you're doing so that you can lose weight and feel better, because it is not impossible. So some of the key patterns that we kind of talked about today, right? Just some of this viral stuff. This has just been on my mind, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it. And I love social media. I love Instagram. I'm not saying anyone's doing anything hurtfully on purpose, but I do just think that sometimes when we're scrolling through things, we can get a little, we just get used to that, and then we may miss things. And so I just wanted to give you guys another perspective of some of these viral trends from the healthcare provider and somebody who's had some of these issues, right? So I think some of the common problematic themes with some of these things is this oversimplification of complex systems, right? So most viral content reduces this complex hormonal metabolic process to this simple cause and effect relationship, which is just, it's not valid. There's this magic bullet mentality that if you do this single food, if you do this single drink, if you do this single routine, it will cure everything. And that's not true about anything in medicine. So if you're going to get healthy, it is a full body approach, which is why at Modern Endocrine, we talk about cell membranes, your gut, then your hormones, your nutrition, your movement, sunlight, sleep, stress, relationships, all these things are important. So there's not a single way that you get healthy or cure any disease. If somebody tells you that, then they're lying to you, and you need to find another provider, full stop. The other thing is supplement promotion. I love supplements. We have great supplements at Modern Endocrine. I take a ton of supplements. Saying to somebody, oh, you just take this supplement and we'll fix it, not factual. Again, it's a whole process of getting healthy. And so a lot of trends go viral, and they try to be viral because they're trying to sell you unregulated supplements. So just keep that in mind and be very careful about that. And then I don't love the pseudo language, like the hormonal-balancing, metabolic-boosting, adrenal, all these just all these catchphrases that people use to try to make you think, oh, I'm going to drink this and then burn fat forever. So I think sometimes the way we word things can be misleading, and there's fear-based marketing too, right? So a lot of times we're creating anxiety about normally bodily functions to sell solutions. And so just keep all that in mind and think about it the next time you see a viral trend and okay, does this really seem are they trying to be are they fear-based marketing me? Are they using language that's very catch-all? or that's very targeted, and like, is that always actually true? Are they trying to like promote me something in particular? Is there like are they trying to say like one thing is going to fix this? Are they oversimplifying something that's more complex? So just keep that in mind. And I think that, obviously when you see content and if you like that content, you can react with it. But I think with cortisol cocktail, if you see something with a cortisol cocktail, just keep in mind what I told you. Same thing with the fibromaxing, like all these things, I think that they are content worth reacting to, obviously, because they're viral and they, they get under our skin and we're like, oh, because it seems so simple, we want to just fix it. But again, these are tools to put in your tool belt to fix you overall from a holistic point of view, right? So I think those are all the things I wanted to talk to you guys about in general, was just kind of going over my thoughts as I see these viral trends. If you like this sort of content, if you're like, hey, I really enjoyed this podcast episode, listening to me just kind of like think out loud, then leave me a review. Let me know, hey, I loved that solo podcast episode. DM me anywhere I'm on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, let me know. I'll do more of these. I have tons of stuff that float around my head all the time. I'm just not sure you guys want to just listen to me jabber for 45 minutes. But if you liked this, let me know, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do one on gut health, on hormones, thyroid, whatever you guys want to hear about. Make sure that you share this with anyone that might benefit from it. I really appreciate you sharing it. I appreciate you helping me get the word out to educate people. That's my sole purpose in doing this. And make sure, again, that you're following us, following us on social media, liking our stuff, sharing with others. And then Modern Endocrine has a license in 43 states. So if you would like to be a patient, we do see people virtually from other states. All the states are listed on our website that we do visits. So check us out. We're happy to see you. We have an amazing gut health program I'm so excited about now. And we have webinars monthly. I'm having one almost every month now, but we have so many people we're helping educate and get their guts back in line, which then allows them to continue their health care journey. So check that out as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you'll join me next week, and I will see you then.
The information presented, including any materials discussed, referenced, or linked within this podcast, are for general educational purposes only, not the practice of medicine. No doctor-patient relationship is formed from you listening to this podcast or utilizing any of the information provided. I am a doctor, but I am not talking to you as your doctor. The information provided is not intended to diagnose or treat health problems, or take the place of the professional medical care provided by your doctor. If you are experiencing any health problems, including problems you believe have been touched upon in any respect within this podcast, you should consult your doctor about the problems without delay. You may ask your doctor whether he or she believes the information I have provided would be helpful to you, but you should still consult your doctor immediately and follow his or her medical advice as your treating physician. I'm just here to provide you basic knowledge about the issues we discuss so you are more aware of them and can better discuss them with your doctor. That's why we call it Back to the Basics. Join me on the next episode as we continue our journey.